NHS! Save our NHS!
Hi everyone! Thank you so much for coming today to fight for our health service. Today you've proven once again that our NHS was built as a public service that everyone wants, cradle to grave. The government can use their politics of fear. They can use their fear to try to divide us, to get us to fight against each other. But when we believe in hope, when we believe that we can all stand together, no matter what race, gender or creed we come from, we can fight for our health service. We can fight for it to exist again.
Yes, we get run down, but still we stand proud. So listen when you hear us shout. The NHS needs saving and they're not listening, but we've got something to say. You can save us, don't let them break us. We are your doctors, let's keep it that way. The NHS should be yours. Let's keep it yours.
I wouldn't be here without my bursary, as most of us wouldn't. So I'm going to start with a poem, or my steward's list, whichever or, that I wrote. It's called Plea from a Student Nurse. Nurse, nurse is the shout from the curtain. She doesn't know I'm a student, of that I am certain. I may not be at the forefront of clinical decision, but I happen to be there, in her line of vision. My patient is 90, scared and alone. She keeps asking, nurse, nurse, when am I going home? I sit with her a while, trying to soothe her to sleep. It's 3 a.m. and I am dead on my feet. She doesn't understand why she is here. The dementia has made everything so unclear. She's had an accident, the bed's all wet. There, I say, please don't fret. Back into bed, all clean and dry, she smiles and whispers thank you with a tear in her eye. Only 4 hours left of this awfully long night. My mind can't stop thinking of the assignments I've still left to write. A new day on placement, there's so much to learn. Do this and that again. I have no time to earn. Do those obs, wash this patient. Don't think for a minute about becoming complacent, because we are watching you, marking you, testing your skills. Never mind your own worries about paying your bills. Mr. Osborne, why can't you see? This isn't like every other degree. I hold the hands of the sick and dying, soon to comfort those left sobbing and crying. Who will be there in their hour of need, or when there's not enough staff to help someone feed? I will. Who will be there in the early hours, or to assist 8 patients with their daily showers? I will. Who will be there to clean up the mess, or simply make a tea for someone in distress? I will. Please, Mr. Osborne, why can't you see? For all the above, it will be me. I'm exhausted, stressed and emotionally broken, but day after day they have my devotion. For I am a student nurse and I care. I am a student nurse, I will always be there. I love what I do, day in and day out, which is why I'm here, which is why I will shout. Mr. Osborne, please listen to me. Our future students need that bursary. It's not just us nurses, but the others too. We are in this together, begging you. This is our chance, we must all unite. This is our future, and this is our fight.
On behalf of the occupiers of Parliament, the roadblockers of Westminster Bridge, DPAC sends solidarity to all the student nurses and everyone here today. You know what? We are with you in your fight for your student nurses' bursaries. We are with you in your fight for your jobs. We are with you in your fight for your services. And we are with you every step in the way to save our NHS. Whose NHS? Whose NHS? Get this message, Hunt. Hands off our NHS and we're coming for you. I want to share a personal story with you here today. 2 years ago, I was in hospital for regular infusions for my condition, rheumatoid arthritis. I walked into the infusion and special treatment department at my local hospital, Princess Royal University Hospital, in trepidation. I was scared as I sat in that chair, not knowing what to expect. And I met this lovely staff nurse. Her name was Angel. She came along, she smiled at me, she gave me a glass of water, and she sat with me to alleviate my anxieties. She did my obs. She was there as the IV infusion was administered, and for the first hour of my treatment, she sat right beside me and held my hand and never left my side. A month later, when I was back in hospital and as the side effects started to bite, she was there as I was being sick in front of her. She phoned me at home when I had a severe chest infection, and she made sure that I was okay. You know something? Over the months, she'd become my guardian angel, always there, caring, compassionate, being the great nurse that she was. I talked to her about my campaigning with Deepak, and she was interested to know what disabled people were going through under this government. She wanted to support us. She made a donation to Deepak even though she could barely afford it. She came out on the picket line with the junior doctors with coffees for them. That was solidarity in action. You are the nurses, all of you. You are the backbone of the NHS, and I never want any of you to forget that. You are the first person we see as we enter the world. You get us through times when we need care, when we are sick, or like me have disabilities and need ongoing care. And you are the last person we often see in palliative care or at home as we leave this world. And I want to say thank you to every nurse, to every doctor who's taken care of me every time I've used NHS services. There were times during my life that if it was not for the quick intervention of the nursing staff and the wonderful doctors, I would not be here today standing in front of you talking to you now. So on behalf of my family and I, and all disabled people everywhere, thank you for making the NHS the great service that it is. You know, it is a travesty what is happening to our NHS today. To see the nurses' bursary cut is so damn wrong. Without the support of the bursary, many people who dream of joining the nursing profession simply won't be able to afford to train to become the nurses they dreamt of being. So Deepak, say to all of you here today, keep fighting, keep piling the pressure on Jeremy Hunt, and together we must get the student nurses' bursary cut reversed, restored. Let's remove Jeremy Hunt and all Tories from government. You know, we are seeing the devastating impact of privatisation of our NHS, which is having an impact on patient care, services and jobs. We must do all that we can to resist this government in the fight for our NHS to now even exist. Always remember Nye Bevan's quote, that the NHS will exist as long as there are the folk with the strength and the faith to fight for it. Well, you know what? You have the strength, you have the faith, and we must never, ever give up the fight for our National Health Service. Deepak promises you this. We are with you in your fight for your bursaries. We are with you in the fight for the NHS. And we must up the ante against this pernicious Tory government. Put Hunt and the Tories out on the street where they belong. Solidarity, keep fighting.
Hello everybody. Thanks to the organisers for letting me follow that magnificent speaker. How can you follow that? What I know is that when I go around hospital wards and I see what nurses do, when I see the hours that they spend walking around, when I see the hours understaffed on wards time and time again, when I see that, I have to stand up and I have to say enough is enough. We cannot allow this to happen anymore. And I want to pay tribute to not just the nurses in our magnificent National Health Service, but I want to pay tribute to all workers within the National Health Service. Like many people here, I can tell stories of how the National Health Service saved my life and the life of many people in my family. And it was during that time, when I'm lying on that bed, that I saw the dedication of the nurses, of all of the staff within the National Health Service. But you know, what surprises me more than anything is how anybody can be surprised that the Tories would do any difference to what they're doing. How can you be surprised about that? Pope's a Catholic, bear shit in the woods, Tories cut the National Health Service. That's what they do. So the only question that we have to answer right now is, what are we prepared to do about it? Are we prepared to go meekly into the hills and just let them cut our National Health Service? Or are we going to stand together? Are we going to build the movement that's going to make the difference? Are we going to do that? Because I know one thing for sure, that nobody ever gave us anything as working people. We've always had to stand up, and we've always had to fight for everything that we've got. The setting up of the National Health Service wasn't because somebody woke up one morning and decided, poor working class people, it's a shame they haven't got health care. Nobody woke up and did that. They were forced to provide a National Health Service because working people stood up and said, we want health care free when we need it. What we don't want is a health service like they have in America that depends on how much money you've got in your pocket, where they pick you up out the gutter, where they decide at that time which ambulance you're entitled to be in or which hospital you're entitled to be in. We are a national health service in this country, not one broken up into little bits, not one depending on how much money you've got in your pocket or the colour of your skin. And let me deal with that a moment, because I'm fed up of all of these people around now who decide that it's okay to make their racist comments about the people who work in the National Health Service, a kind of casual racism that exists in this country right now. You see it in the United States with Trump and the like, but you see it in this country as well, where people just seem to think that it's okay to criticise hard-working people in the National Health Service simply because of the country they were born in or the colour of their skin. Well, I'll tell you this, we have to be the change agents. We have to be the people who say the National Health Service is for everybody. Thank you so much.
We are here fighting a just cause, because changing student bursary to loans is not fit for purpose. I am so glad that there are so many of you here, including RCN members. Many of you have told me how angry you are, how worried you are about these changes of student funding. We know that students like you are the future of our NHS. The government cannot have nursing on the cheap. But these plans threaten to make our current shortage of nursing worse. If the government think they are going to change the funding to increase workforce, they are having a laugh. Many brilliant nurses join our profession later in life. Many have dependents. Many have already got debts from their first degrees. Catherine, one of our RCN nursing committee member, is 36 years old. She is a mother of 2. She is completing her degree, working long hours on her placement to make ends meet, but the bursary helps. The bursary helps her to cover some of her many responsibilities. She would never have had a chance to fulfill her dream to become a nurse if she had to take a loan.
Well, thank you very much.
And let's not start with me, but start with all of you, because I think you should give yourselves a cheer because you're here on a Saturday morning delivering a very clear message. Let's say, bursary or bust!
Bursary or bust! Bursary or bust! Bursary or bust!
Okay, all right. I reckon that'll still be reverberating round those halls on Monday morning. They'll be hearing that message loud and clear. Now I think, well actually perhaps I will start with the personal, just to tell you, all of you, what's happening. I've announced that I'm not re-standing as Green Party leader, but I am not going away. I'm gonna keep doing all the same politics that I'm doing, but I'm opening up for space for more people to come forward, even more people to come on your marches. So I promise you, I'll still be here, and the Green Party will still be here on these marches. Now, I think it was great to see the speaker from the NUS here earlier, because we do have to understand this is part of a bigger fight. In the Green Party, we say no student fees for anybody. But the fact is that as nurses, midwives and associated health professionals, you actually have a special case. Because as part of your training, you are doing hundreds, sometimes thousands of hours of work in the NHS. And that means the plan to end the bursary for nurses, midwives and other health professionals is actually a plan to make you pay to work for the NHS. This is a new low in austerity and we're not going to stand for it. And I think we can fight this fight, but also use it to start that broader discussion about student fees, because actually education is a public good, and education, the cost of it should be met from general progressive taxation, far more progressive than what we've got now, and it should be free education. And let's be concrete about this. And I tried this argument on a white van man a couple of days ago and it worked really well. I said to him, think about it if you're in hospital as a patient waiting to be treated. Where are you most likely to see a migrant to Britain, an immigrant? It's not in the queue with you, it's treating you as a health professional or as a helper. And we know that immigrants, particularly EU immigrants, are more likely to be younger and healthier, and it's their taxes that are helping to pay for your NHS. So let's say loudly and clearly, immigration is not a problem for the NHS. But there clearly are problems. The NHS is horribly stretched. Our nurses, doctors, midwives and others are working incredibly too hard because of two reasons, I believe. The first is that the government is not spending enough money on our NHS. Let's not let them pretend they are. They are cutting in real terms the spending on the NHS. And you know what they plan to do? Here's a number to remember. By 2020, they're planning to spend 6.6% of GDP on NHS. France and Germany spend 11% of GDP on healthcare. They are not spending enough. We need to say rich individuals and particularly multinational companies paying their taxes, and that can go into the NHS. And the other thing that's the cause of the problems in the NHS is privatisation. And we know there's a racing privatisation of our NHS. And I know that the public believed, as the Green Party do, in a publicly owned and publicly run NHS free at the point of use. Let's back that publicly owned, publicly run free NHS. And let's acknowledge that this is not what this government believes in. This is not what quite a lot of people who are campaigning to leave the EU, who say they'd like to put more money into the NHS, it's not what their history shows they believe in. What we need to do is have this referendum, and then I've got a saying, 2020 is too far away.
for the sake of the NHS, for the sake of all of us, we need to get rid of this government long before then.
We have obviously witnessed 8 months or more of quite astounding changes and things that have been happening with our profession. And it's not only us, it's clear that it's everybody, the nurses, the teachers, the police, the people with disabilities, people on tax credits, who else? The ambulance drivers, anyone else? The patients, absolutely, and I think that that is key. Because what we are seeing now is this sort of rhetoric that none of this is about patient safety. And I think as a doctor, I would like to stand by what I have always said, and I do absolutely believe this is about patient safety. There is no question that what is happening to our nurses and our doctors and the NHS is not going to impact upon everybody. We doctors remember this. Whilst they try and divide us all, we're also patients. We use the NHS. I use the NHS. So this will impact upon me as much as it will impact upon any of you who go and use the NHS. And I think that we really in this country will not realise what we have lost until it is gone. And it is going. So let us not forget that while Jeremy Hunt seems to think that the nurses needn't do a full course and it'll be fine to downskill nurses, and actually it's all good for people from disadvantaged backgrounds, and I was in a meeting with him 2 weeks ago and heard him say that, whilst lots of politicians challenged it. They actually challenged him. So there are brilliant politicians there fighting your cause, don't forget that. There are also wonderful people from the media fighting our cause. However, as Vivian said, we have a very complicit media, and I think we have to be very mindful of what we listen to and take in and believe that is written in the papers, okay? So let me shut up, and let us just really fight for our nurses. I think they're fantastic. If anything that mid-staffs did show, and Jeremy Hunt will talk about mid-staffs because he says he's a patient safety champion. But mid-staffs showed, very, very clearly that without excellent nurses, people die. It's very clear. The nursing staff are the people that save lives. So please let us respect them. Thank you.
This government is made up of private school boys who went to university for free. Now, they want to pull away the ladder that so many are already struggling to grab a hold of. They close our colleges, sack our staff, and marketise our education. They're forcing us into a lifetime of debt, and for NHS students, the debt is even bigger. Research proves that it is those students who are the most debt adverse and put off by high tuition fees. Cutting their bursary and replacing it with a loan will mean putting these brave NHS students into poverty, or denying them access to the health profession altogether. Our NHS is already in crisis, not only in how it is financed, but now with how the people who staff it are financed too. It's time this government stopped trying to mess with students and with our NHS. They tried to mess with junior doctors. They felt the power of the collective action and solidarity. It's no surprise, since this is the same government cutting benefits, EMA, disabled students' allowance, and so many other vital funds that working class people need to survive, let alone access education. The truth is, they don't want us accessing education because it makes us powerful. It makes us see through their lies, and it gives us the network we need to fight back. And they will feel it even more if they pursue these bursary cuts. This year with NUS, they've got a fight on their hands. And they will not be cutting our funding and raising our fees without a fight. And it's a fight we can win. We will be mobilizing like nothing seen in a generation. We will be building closer, stronger links across the union and our movement, and we will be putting power where it should be, in grassroots, self-organized struggles like this one. We will be with you every step of the way, be it national or local actions. We stand with you and we will fight with you. Solidarity. Thank you.
It's an absolute disgrace that this government think that we should pay to work. And I genuinely believe the only way we're going to win this is by getting this government out of office this year. The Tories have got to go. So, getting back on the bursaries now. These bursary cuts are just part of a wider ideological attack on our NHS. They've attacked the cleaners and taken away money from them who already earn pittance for what they do. They've gone for the doctors. They're gonna go for the nurses, they're gonna go for the midwives, they've gone for the students. This is just part of their plans to privatise our NHS. And I say now, as a nurse, that I will support the bursary students in whatever they do. I wanted to do this today to hand this over to the students because this is no longer my campaign. It is for the students and it needs to be student-led. And it's been really, really great being with you all. So, my message to the students is keep fighting and the nurses will be here with you and I will help you every step of the way. Have a problem that you will understand. We all need somebody to lean on me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on me. Come on, everybody! When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long.